Welcome to Echoes Untold, where we breathe life into the forgotten echoes of history. Some events change the world instantly, leaving scars on the landscape and in the hearts of those who lived through them. Others whisper their warnings, influencing the future in ways unseen. Today, we tell the story of a tragedy in the skies, a horrifying mid-air collision that shook Los Angeles, claimed innocent lives, and forced a critical transformation in aviation safety. This is the story of Aeroméxico Flight 498, a disaster that altered the way planes share the skies forever. Stick around until the end to hear how this catastrophe changed history. And if you enjoy stories like this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Echoes Untold, where history whispers, and we listen. It was a clear and sunny day, August 31, 1986. Aeroméxico Flight 498, a McDonnell Douglas DC-9, lifted off from Mexico City en route to Los Angeles International Airport. The aircraft, a sleek, twin-engine jetliner, was a common sight in the skies. On board were 64 souls, passengers and crew, many looking forward to reuniting with family, starting new adventures, or simply returning home. The flight was uneventful for most of its journey. As it approached Los Angeles, the pilots prepared for their final descent, communicating with air traffic control. Everything seemed routine, but what no one realized was that their fate was already sealed by a small aircraft flying dangerously close in their path. At the same time, a small, single-engine aircraft, a Piper PA-28 Cherokee, was navigating the airspace over Los Angeles. The pilot, William Kramer, a 72-year-old private flyer, had taken off from Torrance, California, with his wife and daughter on board. Kramer was not in communication with air traffic control. Unbeknownst to him, he had drifted into restricted airspace, an invisible but critical boundary designed to separate commercial aircraft from smaller private planes. Adding to the danger, the Piper Cherokee lacked a functioning Mode C transponder, a device that would have broadcast its altitude to air traffic controllers and warned them of the impending collision course. In a congested sky where pilots rely on precise navigation and communication, this oversight proved fatal. It happened in an instant. At precisely 11:52 a.m., over the quiet suburban community of Cerritos, the Piper Cherokee and the DC-9 collided in mid-air. The Cherokee's nose struck the DC-9's horizontal stabilizer, the critical part of the tail that keeps the aircraft stable. The force of the impact was devastating. The smaller plane was torn apart instantly, disintegrating mid-air. The three people on board never had a chance. The DC-9, however, faced a terrifying few moments of uncontrolled chaos. With its stabilizer damaged beyond function, the aircraft entered an unrecoverable dive. Inside the cabin, passengers and crew had only seconds to comprehend the horror unfolding around them. With engines roaring and alarms blaring, the jetliner plummeted toward the unsuspecting neighborhood below. Seconds later, at an estimated 470 miles per hour, Aeroméxico Flight 498 crashed into the quiet community of Cerritos, California. The impact was catastrophic. Homes were obliterated in an instant. A massive explosion sent debris flying across several city blocks, igniting fires and sending thick plumes of smoke into the sky. The shockwave could be felt for miles. All 64 people on board the DC-9 perished on impact. But the devastation did not end there. On the ground, unsuspecting residents were caught in the chaos. Entire families were torn apart. 15 people in their homes lost their lives as fire and debris engulfed their world in seconds. The final death toll, 82 lives lost in an instant. Firefighters, paramedics, and police rushed to the scene, only to be met with a sight too terrible to comprehend. Wreckage was scattered across homes and streets, bodies among the debris. Survivors on the ground, those fortunate enough to escape, stood in stunned silence. Local resident Terry Williams later described the horror. "I heard a deafening explosion, and then the sky rained fire. I ran outside, and there was nothing left, just burning houses, people screaming, and smoke so thick you could barely breathe. It took hours to control the fires and days to process the full scale of the disaster. The grief was overwhelming, not only for the families of the passengers but also for the tight-knit Cerritos community, now forever marked by tragedy. The National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB, launched an immediate investigation. What they found was deeply unsettling. The key factors leading to the disaster were clear: unauthorized airspace intrusion. The Piper Cherokee had wandered into airspace reserved for commercial aircraft, without clearance. Lack of collision avoidance technology. The Piper's missing transponder meant that neither air traffic controllers nor the DC-9's pilots received any warning. Ineffective air traffic control coordination. While controllers were managing commercial traffic, there was no system in place to actively track small aircraft in real time. These failures exposed a glaring flaw in the aviation industry's approach to mid-air collision prevention. This tragedy served as a wake-up call, and the aviation industry responded with sweeping reforms: mandatory collision avoidance systems, TCAS. Following the crash, the FAA required all commercial aircraft to be equipped with TCAS, an onboard system that detects and prevents collisions. Stricter airspace regulations. Flight paths over Los Angeles were revised, and private aircraft were subjected to more stringent navigation requirements. Transponder requirements for private aircraft. Small planes, like the Piper Cherokee, were now required to use Mode C transponders, making them visible to both controllers and other pilots. These changes have saved countless lives. Today, mid-air collisions are exceedingly rare, thanks to the lessons learned from Flight 498. The Cerritos disaster is more than a tragic event. It is a moment in history that reshaped the way we fly. Though the lives lost can never be replaced, their legacy endures in the safety of modern aviation. Every time a plane takes off and lands safely, it does so in part because of the hard lessons learned on that fateful day. History is full of echoes, warnings, lessons, and voices from the past. And here, in the story of Flight 498, the echoes still whisper. If you found this story compelling, please like, share, and subscribe to Echoes Untold. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Echoes Untold, where history whispers, and we listen. Fact-checked note. This account is based on official reports from the National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB, Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, regulations, and historical analyses of the Cerritos mid-air collision. Primary sources include NTSB Accident Report R87/07 and FAA Aviation Safety Records.